And good evening, everyone. And I want to welcome you to another I'm Loving Me webinar series. I am Gloria Ward, the creator of the I'm Loving Me project. And tonight we have a very, very special guest who's going to talk about a topic that is rarely actually talked about. And I'm going to let her go ahead and do the talking. But before I do that, I just want to say again, thank you to everyone who has joined our social media. We finally got up to 100 likes. Everybody has been sharing the information. Everybody has been enjoying the content and the videos. And so that's all that we want to do. Our mission is to make sure that we help 1 million women start to love themselves and get over their limiting beliefs, and to empower them and to let them know that those things that they see in the mirror are actually their strengths. So tonight we have such an amazing person. Her name is Jovan Price Georges. Is that correct?
It is correct.
And she is going to talk about the topic of IVF. Now, I really don't have too much knowledge about it, but she has been through some things, guys, and she can really educate us about this topic and what she's been through. So I am going to ask my question of Jovan. When you were going through this and you looked in the mirror, what is it that you saw?
I saw a person that overcame a lot of obstacles. Starting with, way back in 2007, when I was diagnosed with cancer and was told I couldn't even have any more children. And I already have 2 children. Whoever knows me know I have 2 very beautiful babies. Not babies, one's 20, one's 17. And then I kind of started my life over and met my now husband, who's awesome, but he didn't have any children. So we knew eventually we would have to go down that road, but we didn't know how hard it was going to be at all. No idea. We just completely blindly went into it. We didn't know much about it. You see it, you hear people whisper about it. It's like a whole secret society of things. And we definitely were dealt a very, very, very crappy hand.
So tell us about it. Tell us exactly what IVF is and like some of the things that you went through.
Okay. First, I had to realize that there wasn't too many women of color there. Okay. There were plenty of other nationalities. There were Indian, there were Asian. Of course, there were white people. Some Spanish people were there, but we didn't really see many women of color there. And I think it's because a lot of times it kind of doesn't happen, and it seemed like it's not a woman of color thing, like African American thing, because we figure it's just as easy as your grandmother getting pregnant back in the 50s and the 40s. It's just not like that. And IVF is basically it's an advanced reproductive art, so to speak, where you are given a slew of medications to basically ovulate because you don't have the ability to do so. There's some disconnection hormonally, or you might have had a tubal ligation and you can't get pregnant on your own after reversal of, the tubal ligation or whatever. So it's basically when you're out of the scope of a GYN to help get pregnant, obviously like timing and Clomid, which is a whole nother discussion, you're sent to an endocrinologist or a fertility specialist. The things I went through, and I think I told you on the phone and I might be off, I think it involves lots of injections, lots of aches and pains. Sometimes, depending on what your situation is, lots of surgeries. In my case, I had 4.
Wow.
So it takes a toll on everything, your mental, your physical, your emotional, and then, of course, you're super hormonal, so you kind of just take it all out on your husband because he's the only other person there.
Yeah.
So I think my husband had said to me, like, you hated me for a year, and I knew why, but I didn't know why. And I think that was as accurate as he could have gotten, So then they basically fertilize whatever eggs they can get from you, if they can, outside of your body with the assistance of your husband or partner, or a donor. If it's a male issue, you can have a donor, and if it's a female issue, you can have a donor. In my case, I was told that I had premature ovarian failure. So that's basically telling me at 32 that my ovaries don't work, and whatever's there isn't really doing anything.
Wow.
So it was about 2 or 3 years that we were like, okay, nothing's happening. What do we do? And so here goes the doctor telling me, well, we're going to do this. We're going to try this. And I was just basically a guinea pig because she kind of didn't know what was going to happen. Like, it's not an exact science. It's a lot of guessing.
Right.
You know, you don't really know what's going to happen. And she told me, I think we were at the tail end of 2 years going into 3, that I'm sorry, whatever you need is outside of my scope. You're never going to have a child for your husband, and you should kind of enjoy the 2 you have.
Why
And when
she say that?
Now, if anybody knows me, I'm not, it took me a lot probably not to hit her over the head with the chair in there. But when she told me that, I was like, oh no, yeah, I'm not coming back to you. I'm not going to give you any more of my money, because it seems like for you to say something like that, you dismissed my wants.
Right.
And basically kind of degraded the fact that of my husband's importance in this, like, this is the reason.
Right.
So I said, yeah, I'm like, okay, this is the last time you'll see me.
Mm-hmm.
You're never. So I had to find all new doctors. And she was an OBGYN telling somebody that, like, she's delivered plenty of babies and going to tell someone, well, just enjoy the 2 children that you have and your new husband. And I'm like,
no,
you forgot the reason why I even told you my story, because, you know, of the complexity of the situation. Mm-hmm. You need a man that doesn't have children. Like, you want that single guy, no kids, no drama, and then you have to deal with that, you know. So at first, you know, we never talked about kids because it was just something that wasn't there. And then when we started thinking about it, we realized there was a bit of a problem. So I went through IVF about, I would say, 4 different cycles. One was an IUI, which was a complete failure. At one clinic, they were horrible. They were really bad. We just kept dumping money. They just kept hitting the slot machine, and there was nothing happening. Then the first one was the IUI, which is not invasive.
Okay.
Second one was IVF, and that was really invasive. There was a lot of things going on. My fibroids were so large that I had to have 2 separate surgeries 6 weeks apart to get everything.
Girl, no.
One was on Mother's Day, and by the time I got better, it was Father's Day. So I was in the hospital on Mother's Day and Father's Day. And so I missed both of those holidays that year. And a lot of people was like, why aren't you coming up to visit? What's going on with you having a baby? I'm trying. Like, don't you think I feel bad that every single cousin of mine, like every week, every month, someone's popping up pregnant, and they're like, oh, well, you just, you know, acting like I'm too cute for it. And it's just not that at all. It was a really, really, really difficult struggle. And then there were miscarriages that you really don't talk about. There's a lot of things that come with that, you know, to have 3 failed attempts and to finally have it work. I think it's best for me to let anybody know, like, it doesn't matter if you're a woman of color or not, that when someone tells you, we don't think it's going to happen, you make it happen, and you let them know that you definitely aren't going to be the person to let me know what I'm going to be doing.
And I tell you something, and I shared this with you over the phone, is that I remember, like, the one time that I did get pregnant by my husband, because I thought, you know, something was wrong with me too, where, you know, we've been married for so long, and then, you know, nothing was happening. And the time that I did get pregnant, I actually had a miscarriage when he was away. And I was waiting for, you know, the time to go ahead and surprise him and be like, oh, finally, you know, it's going to happen. And I had to tell him bad news when, you know, when he got home, but he didn't know anything. And then he's like, are you for real? Because at first he didn't even believe what I was saying. And I was like, yeah, it's real. Here's the, stuff from the doctor. But nothing has ever happened after that. And, it's like, that's why I think this conversation is so important, because it just makes you think, like, you as a woman, you always thinking like, what's wrong with me? Like, what happened? Like, it's just supposed to be normal, because you're told when you're young in your 20s, don't get pregnant, right? And protect yourself and do all this. But when you finally at that stage where you want to, then you're like, wait a second, like, what happened? So what was the emotions that was going on? Because I know for me, I was devastated. I felt like I failed as a woman, and I wasn't able to really give him what he wanted. So how did you feel?
Well, at first when nothing was happening, I was like, I can honestly tell you, I was completely obsessed.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with ovulation calendars. I was obsessed with ovulation kits. I was obsessed with every time there was like a backache, or I caught a headache, or I didn't smell something and I was like nauseous. Oh, maybe we're pregnant. And he's like, because my husband's just really chill. He's really chill. He's like, okay, when I have time to where I need to worry, then that's what I do. But I was obsessed. And when she told me that I could never, what she needed was out of my scope, and she doesn't refer people to fertility specialists, and we would never have a baby, I called him. You would think someone passed away. Because it felt like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was ripped from me. And to tell me, just enjoy your other two children and get over it. I'm like, who the hell are you? And two, that's some really bad news to drop. And 32 years old. Like, you tended to hear your grandmother say, don't have kids after 35. I'm nowhere near that. I'm 3 years away and I'm struggling.
Right,
like,
right.
And then you have my children, the big ones were like, well, when are you going to have a baby? And I'm like, that's when I had to let them in and let them know that these are the things that are going on. And they were like, wow, we didn't know. Like, you still maintain your composure all the time. I'm like, oh no, I'm a nervous wreck, just not in front of you guys.
Right.
So with him, he was more so hurt because I was hurt.
Mm.
He said if it doesn't happen, he's not going to hold it against me. But I told her there's always this weird thing in the back of your mind that you feel that they're slightly
always
try.
Always.
And then you have the women that'll try and be like, they never really wanted to do it and it doesn't work, and their husband and know that they never really wanted to do it. They never really wanted it.
Right.
And to know that your wife never really wanted the same thing, you're like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not even going to try or feel the way I feel? Because there are some men who are just as devastated as women when they have, as their wife or partner when they have a miscarriage. So like some men have those emotions,
right.
Like, you can't discredit them because they're not a woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's their child too. It was their life too. And it's not there. So it's like, it was a roller coaster going at like 1,000 miles an hour. And we held on. even when the locks on the seat let go, we still were holding on.
Oh, that's right.
And I kept doing it. And I think at the point where I think I was so tore up, my husband's like, I'm not going to put you through this again. If it does not work this time, I'm calling it quits. I've had enough of you going through this. And that's a big thing to say, because even though we know he wanted it for himself and both of us, it just wasn't worth his wife's health or her sanity. Yeah. And he noticed that it took a toll on both.
And he didn't want to see you in that kind of pain anyway. I think he was more worried about how you would feel and how you're feeling, putting your body through this. And it's like, you know what? I still love you anyway,
Yeah.
But as a woman, you're thinking like, no, I'm a woman. This is what I was put here, to do. This is what God gave me, this gift to bring life. And to have this thing, you just like, you don't feel like you're fully a woman. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's like you
I told,
something
like,
missing, you know?
I figured what I think bothers a lot of women is that this is supposed to be your God-given right.
That's what it
It is
is.
the one thing you can't do.
That's what it
And
is.
it could be taken a whole lot of different ways, but at the end of the day, that's actually just the rawest description of the feeling you can actually have.
Right.
Why can't I do the one thing that is supposed to be?
Exactly.
I come from a family where my grandmother had 10 children.
Mine have
My
14.
mother's 9 of 10. And every cousin, like, I think I went to so many baby showers throughout the time I was going through this, and I still showed up with gifts, loving everybody. And the moment I get to the table, they're like, so when you gonna have a baby shower?
Oh, wow.
When you gonna have a baby? And I'll be like, oh, we're just taking our time. We're traveling. I wanted to scratch everybody's eyes out and choke. You can't really put, I think I had said one time, and it was funny. I said, why does my uterus become a discussion of the family at everybody's baby shower? Like, you know that my womb was something that was on everybody's mind. So it's like, and then my husband kept it really private because he just didn't want people to know. But for me, I just feel that sharing is caring, because a lot of people don't talk about it because it seems shameful. It's not. It is. I have something called secondary fertility because I have 2 children that were actually conceived naturally. And then to have it happen the second time around, you're like, oh, it should be no problem. Too much wine one night and we on date night, or the kids is away and it happens. Oh, no, it was not that. It was a lot of hard work. And then when I kept it to myself, it's when I became super depressed and super anxious and really angry. And my husband, he's just so chill. It just pissed me off how chill he was. But he probably was going nuts. But he can't fall apart if I'm falling apart. So somebody got to hold it together. And I really did dislike him for a year. I don't know why. I just was like, we're going to have a baby, but you get on my nerves. Like, just get away. And he would lead me to my space. And then I would call him and he would come back to me. And he's like, you all right now? And I'm like, I don't know. So it's like, he was awesome with understanding that. And when we got to that point where it finally worked, the hard part, I think, for him is like explaining the complexity of it. Like, you basically take your eggs out of your body and you fertilize them outside, and then you either transfer them back or freeze and transfer them back later. I was one of those candidates where I went through it so many times, but if my body had failed me and I couldn't transfer immediately, I took a year and a half off of fertility treatments because I was like, I put on 50 pounds out of nowhere, just puffy. Like, and people were like, oh my God, you went down to Virginia and got all fat. I'm like, no, that's not what happened. Like, it's because I've been on fertility drugs for 2 years. Like, but they wouldn't understand. They don't know about, basically like the hormones that trigger your brain to make your body think you're pregnant. Like, what that does. Like, everybody goes through bloating. Imagine going through bloating for a whole year.
Oh no, girl.
Where you can't close your pants or bend over. You got big achy boobs and it feels like you had a baby, but you didn't. And then on top of it, they tell you, yeah, we know you're doing this, but you got to have surgery.
Wow.
Yeah, we can't transfer your eggs because your body is now like retaining fluid and you have like 105 temperature. Like, it's so much. Like, it is a lot of moving parts to it. But my doctor, and I don't mind dropping his name, is Dr. Eric Levins. And he was basically my knight in shining armor. Like, he told me at the beginning, like, we're here to make this work.
Right.
We're gonna go big or go home. It's gonna be aggressive. You're not gonna like me, but at the end of this, you're gonna get exactly what you want, if not more. And I will honestly say that I got a whole lot more than I thought. And she is the most amazing thing. Like, everybody knows her story, and for people to know this is how it all started is really important. Like, she was worth every single thing.
Right, and now we got a baby. And what's her name? And how old is she? When was she
Her name,
born?
her name, I'm just gushing. Her name is Araya Juliana. She was born June 16th. I only got one sister, and she was born on her birthday. She
Okay.
was born on the 18th of last year in Andover, Fairfax. She did have a NICU stay because of my complex situation. But she is now 17 months old, walking and running the place, and we're cool with that.
I know it.
Running the place, has the most awesome big brother and sister, and the most awesome dad. Like the whole family, like she was definitely what my husband said she would be, which was that bridge. Like
Right.
she took the families and smushed them together, and that's what I wanted for him. I wanted that for him, but I also wanted to see if there was a light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
All the hard work, all the money spent, all the hours, all the surgeries, all the sticks, over 4,000 of them.
Ooh.
You know, between blood work, progesterone, follistim, gonal F, whatever they decided to give me, it was actually worth it. Complete, like I don't have any. I'd like. It's a lot of dark stuff to it.
Yeah.
But you got to take the good with the bad, and the good outweigh the bad.
Yeah.
So I take it as I don't ever have regrets. I just take it as a learning experience, and whoever wants to know, I am full of knowledge because I ask questions. That's what I do for a living. You know, I have to know everything, and I crossed my T's and I dotted my I's, and I went with who was the best at what they did, which was Shady Grove Fertility. Out here, I don't know if they're anywhere else. I think I was talking to you about that, but my nurses were awesome. 24 hours a day, I had somebody to talk to, and then I wound up joining a group, but they weren't what I needed. I needed to speak to my nurse and know what I needed from me versus listening to someone else say what happened with them.
Right.
I'm a little bit more complex. I'm a cancer survivor. I already have 2 children. I'm in my mid-30s, and I don't like it wasn't some people had male factors. I didn't have a male factor. My husband was 100% fine, and I knew it was me. I'm like, it's me. It's a disconnect with me. It's something not right. And then I was pretty much right, but I didn't think that my ovaries were failing at 30 something years old.
Right.
And that's something hard to accept. Like,
Should be popping by then. I'm up there like, it should be nice and popping and ready, No.
Yeah.
Girl.
And like they also have, where people that are older that want to experience this, but their eggs are just not old enough. So I also had to catch it within the window that they felt was acceptable, for egg freezing or IVF in total, so I had a lot of things to work out, and it was a short amount of time to figure it out. And then to hear, okay, we're going to go through with it, but we go to do a mock transfer, and we realize that you have 2 huge fibroids on top of each other like this.
Wow.
They were like this, one on each side blocking. So they're like, oh, this might be the problem. But, that was only part of the problem. Like my hormone levels are never correct. It's a thing, it's an imbalance that's been going on because of the medication I took before my cancer surgery. So I knew something would go wrong, but I just didn't know it was going to be to the extent of this.
Right.
So my husband was awesome. He rolled with the punches, and
I'm so glad.
He paddled against the current.
I'm so glad. It's always good when you have a partner that is, really there for you and who truly loves you, because you can't do this alone, because you, again, like we were talking about, you always feel like, okay, I married somebody and now, I made a commitment, but I can't really follow through on the things that I'm, supposed to do, like having a kid. We have to go through different measures to do that. You know what I'm saying? And so for those women who are out there who are silent, because I know that there are a lot of women out there who are silent about their situation. what are some of the things that you would tell them to kind of help them ease their pain and allow them to go ahead and really go through the process without feeling the shame, basically?
The thing is that you shouldn't. If it's, that's like, uh, that's not a really good analogy. It's just basically like if you want something and you have to work for it. Like, say you want a house, but you need 2 jobs, and you don't want
Right.
somebody to see you working at McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working toward a goal, that's what it is. No shame should be ever involved in that conversation. And for me, I think it was more so people think of it because it is expensive. And when people ask me, the first thing they ask me is, "Oh, how much was it?" It was a grip. It was, but this is what I wanted. This is what we wanted. This is what the family wanted. And just go ahead and do it. Like because you have some, like now my husband's insurance, they'll cover 4 cycles of IVF if your deductible is met.
Okay.
And they have a wonderful, like my clinic has a wonderful plan with Aetna, where you're only paying your copays to go to the doctor, and because it's becoming so common that a lot of people are having fertility issues because it is now a worldwide thing. You have people that go, my friend went to India for hers.
Wow.
She went to India for hers because her father was a doctor. They knew everyone. It's everywhere. It is everywhere. It is on every face of every woman. It does has it's just, there's no boundaries on it. If it touches you, it touches you. And if you want to go along with it and you want to do it, it's something that you want, don't ever be shameful of doing it. Don't ever be shameful of asking questions. It's just that sometimes you just can't bring up IVF at a dinner table. There's certain circles that you talk. There's certain places or circles or situations you can talk about that.
Right.
But just be mindful of also, like, if someone wants to know something or they want to help, then yeah, you kind of don't want to offer too much. It's still your experience to have. You can just tell them, this is what happened with me, and this is what happened, what I had to do, and this is what I had to do, but yours might be different. When my daughter was in the NICU, I was telling you there were nurses that were there in their 20s dealing with something I was dealing with in my 30s.
Wow.
26 had the same thing. Premature ovarian failure. Anytime it's under 55, it's called premature ovarian failure. And she's being told at 26, about to marry her high school sweetheart, that they won't be able to have any children. And she was like, they kind of told me to leave it alone. And I'm like, well, why would you? Why would you settle for that answer? Why would you settle to not have a family with your husband because one doctor told you you shouldn't, because someone told me I shouldn't back in 2012. Right. And in 2017, I had my baby. Not in 2012. I think it was 2014. It was maybe a year or two after we got married. We figured something was going on. But she told me just to enjoy the 2 that I had. And I'm like, excuse you? I'm like, I know you're upset about it. I know no one wants to hear that. But definitely go out there, get your answers. Don't be afraid to call places. Don't be afraid to ask your insurance who they feel you should be referred to. Because a lot of times, like my doctor I have now, it was referred by my insurance because of my really bad previous experience. Okay. It was so, it was horrible. Like, it was really horrible. And when I explained it to the nurse practitioner I was talking to, because there was a miscarriage and I had to take some weird drug, which is actually a cancer drug, which is methotrexate. And because I was a cancer survivor, we were like, can I even take it? Right. He's prescribing this to me and we don't even know if I can take it. So I had to call them up to see if they were going to do the pre-auth. And I told them what happened, because they're like, why do you need this? I'm like, well, they said I was pregnant, but I'm not pregnant enough. Which is the weirdest thing to hear. But they was like, we have to dissolve the pregnancy versus it being miscarried on its own. And then she was like, well, why? What happened? If you don't mind me asking. And I was like, well, let me tell you what happened. Right. And she was like, if you feel you want to do this again, I suggest this person's the top rated doctor in your area. Give it a try. I know you're upset about what's going on right now, but if this is what you want, give it a try. My sister went through the same thing. See, if I hadn't had the conversation with her,
Right.
I wish she would share that information. And it's important, just to have that, someone that knows some part of it that you can relate to. Because you have people like famous people, celebrities that have surrogates or do IVF or choose to do IVF. Like, oh, I just feel like doing IVF because I want to play and have my baby a little bit more to the T. I'm one of those regular people, grew up in Harlem, living my very regular life, and I went through something extraordinary. And live to tell the tale.
Yes, ma'am.
And definitely share with whomever wants to know. Because the first 3 times I was alone, and I felt really alone. But second time around, I think I told you I had everybody involved in my injections. I had my sister, I had my brother,
right,
I had my daughter, my husband, my cousin. I'm like, y'all got to help me. This is a group effort. I need you guys. I need you to help me. I was like, I need your help. I need everyone to pray for me. I need everybody to be there for me, because before I didn't have anybody. And it was just a different feeling. Like this time I'm like, everybody's all in. They put the hands in and we said, go team, and everybody helped her get here. So definitely wonderful.
And I appreciate you telling your story tonight. And I know for sure that you're going to help a lot of women out there, and then gave a lot of, tips and really educated us about IVF, and, just to let us know that feeling that we feel, that we could do something about it. You know what I mean? And I say we because it's a personal thing with me too, where it's something to think about. You know what I mean? It's something to think about, because I was one of those people that said, oh, well, I mean, this is what they said it is. And, so now speaking with you, like you said, you get the wheels start turning in your head, and you're like, oh, well, it is really some options out there. And it's really up to me how it goes from here, So
it's also comfort level.
Yeah.
I am Catholic, and there are certain things that the church does not, in any religion, does not foresee as acceptable.
Natural.
And I had to, talk to my Monsignor and talk to my father and deacon and let them know that, you guys said, when you get married, the first thing he said it during the ceremony, you gotta have kids. And I said to him, well, this is my way. This is the only way I can do it. Can I still have my child christened? He's like, oh, baby's a baby and a baby's a blessing.
I know that's right.
You to get where you need to be. And I was like, I got you. You see me? You're going to be christening my baby. And that's exactly what happened. She got christened this year of April. He's like, you wasn't playing, was you? I said, no, I was not.
Not at all.
No, I was not. I was not playing. We had a common goal. We had set the rules. We were like, we're going to do this. We held hands and we prayed, and she's here and we're here, and it's awesome.
That is such an amazing story. And I thank you for joining us tonight.
Of course.
So what I'm going to say to people is, I know that it might be a hard topic for some of you women to talk about, but the whole purpose of this webinar is just to enlighten you and just to give you some ideas, and just to let you know that you are not by yourself. There are women who are out there that you can actually talk to and get information from, who can help you and really tell you the real deal on what's going on. So, Jovan, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for educating us again. And guys, again, please, if you like the information, please go on our Facebook page, our Instagram, like us, share us, and leave some comments about what it is that you feel about our webinar series, or if you have any questions for you know, Jovan, and you want to get some more information about how you should proceed, because I think this is a very important topic. So thank you again for joining us.
Of course.
I am so glad that you came. And guys, have a very happy Thanksgiving. And I thank you so much. And we'll see you soon. Bye.